Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Just Talking About Sports. I'm Matthew.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm the newbie Michael over here.
Ethan, what are we going to be doing today, good sir?
Just talking about sports.
Yes, sir. Here we go. Week 10. Can we believe we're already deep into January? March Madness is around the corner. Both my buddies here are at Butler's campus near Indianapolis. They are going to be right by the March Madness. It's in their backyard. And let's get it underway with this week's edition of what has been a wild week. What was really a wild Saturday. And we'll cover that as we go along. We're going to move it rapid fire, so let's get it moving. We'll start with Gonzaga and Baylor. Once again, continued dominance. Granted, Gonzaga plays nobody. They are at number 1. Baylor's at number 2. Big week for them. The SEC Big 12 Challenge is this week. And their SEC opponent is none other than Auburn. So we will see how that goes on Saturday. We'll stop immediately, though, at number 3. Villanova has had an unbelievable season. Got a little rocky of a week, but they still won. I leave the floor to you.
Yeah, this is mine. I don't think people recognize how good this Villanova team is. They've got depth at every single position. Like, I don't think enough people are talking about how good Caleb Daniels is, for example. Justin Moore is a beast. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl's a beast. Colin Gillespie's a beast. And Ryan Antoine could be coming back from injury. And from everything I've heard about him, he was one of the best high school prospects ever coming out of New Jersey. So he can play. I mean, they got those 5 guys who are awesome. Then Jermaine Samuels fills a role. Cole Swider just gets buckets. Brandon Slater can play. These guys, they have such a deep roster. And people just don't talk enough about how they are that third team and no one's near them. Like, I'm not taking they beat Texas in Texas. And Michigan, yeah, great. You want to run Hunter Dickinson inside, Villanova 5 out, they'll expose them. I think Villanova is far and away that third team. And I don't think people talk enough about it.
Yeah. Villanova, I think, always goes underappreciated for many reasons. Ethan, what you got?
I mean, with Villanova and how they've just been playing, I mean, they have just been, like, since that first loss to Virginia Tech that they had early in the season, this team has just been downright unstoppable. They did have COVID issues, but they're now back and they're continuing to play. And they have pretty much secured their Big East, like lead in the Big East. As Creighton begins to fall and Seton Hall begins to fall, it is just all Nova in the Big East. And as Big East, basically people from Butler, we've been paying straight attention to that. And that's all we've been seeing is having to deal with Villanova just continue to dig a bigger lead above everybody. So I think this Villanova team is, like you said, they're definitely underrated. Can't wait to see what they have. But I think it definitely goes Gonzaga, Baylor. Then it goes Villanova, I think close to those two. And then just a scramble for the rest, in my opinion.
Agree completely.
I would agree. The issue is competition-wise, the Big East is really starting to falter. We talked about it. Creighton, we'll discuss here shortly, falling off a cliff. You got a lot of the Big East that's just not as strong as it once was. You have a lot of teams in the Big East this year that make you want to cry. But we'll move on. Number 4, we got Michigan. Bit of a scary story there for the Wolverines this week. The B17 COVID variant has found their way into the Michigan campus. Player tested positive for that variant, so they are shut down for weeks now. You're not going to see Wolverines play for a little while. That should rough up the Big Ten schedule a little bit. Hope everybody's okay there. Longhorns of Texas are at number 5. The Big 12 is absolutely loaded this year. Couple of tough loss to Texas Tech last week. Bounce back, though. Blowout win over Kansas State. And we'll just stop the wheels right here once again. Houston Cougars are at number 6. They have 1 loss this season, a narrow loss and a last second foul, which is the main reason why I'm going to discuss them here. It's because Houston, to me, has played an unbeaten schedule. Quentin Grimes has played at an all-time caliber level. This team is still number 6. I think that, we look at the 1 loss, and that's all we look at, but we don't look at the way you lose. And I think that sometimes that is lost in the mess of a top 25, specifically made in this situation. But I think Houston has played better than a lot of the teams. I mean, they're number 6. I'm not going to say that they're underrated still, but I do think that the credibility for them is just not there. The American has always found these really good teams to hone in on every year. We've had the Bearcats of Cincinnati past couple of years running this conference. It's just not the same case anymore. Temple, Tulane are still there. They're in the mix. They've been playing really well, but Houston has demolished them both on multiple counts. Houston is a name to watch, especially as we get towards the March Madness scene. 3-4 seed. If they can get there, they're going to sneak their way through a lot.
I mean, I think as much as I love Houston, they really haven't played anybody, and that's going to be the biggest issue keeping them from this above thing. And I know you love to give credit to them, and trust me, I love seeing them this high because for once a Power 5 or 6 conference is this high in the top 25 rankings. And at 13-1, despite, like you said, that 1-point loss to Tulsa and halfway through the season, I think this Houston team has come out and continued to prove why they're one of the best things. You mentioned Quentin Grimes. He was the player of the week this week, actually, for the American Conference, and he's just continuing to prove with each week, and I can't wait to see where the Houston team keeps going now. I mean, number 6, who knows if Michigan and Texas will stay that high, and Houston might be able to snag maybe even a 2 seed as we continue to head toward closer and closer to March, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, the job Kelvin Sampson has done at Houston has been it's been incredible. He took a team that hadn't won a tournament game since the 1984 season, and now they're just consistently winning tournament games, consistently getting to this point. And even after the transfer of Caleb Mills, they've had guys step up. Marcus Sasser has really stepped up. Quentin Grimes has just been awesome. And I mean, this team can still compete with anybody. They defend really well, and they mix that old school mindset with that new school analytic type thinking that just has them winning consistently. It's the job Kelvin Sampson has done. They're just not getting nearly enough credit. He should have a high major job immediately.
Love that insight from you there, Michael. We'll continue on. Number 7, Iowa, tough week. Oof. Indiana took it to them hard. We'll see. I'm going to just briefly go here. I think here you're going to realize just how open the Big Ten is, and Iowa's not maybe as good as many people thought. Virginia sits at number 8. The Cavaliers, big week. Now, granted, you beat Clemson the week before. We've already talked about them too much on this channel to say anything more except for laugh in their face. But good win over Georgia Tech. They really didn't do much else. Their NC State game got postponed, and last night obliterated the Orange of Syracuse. And then we'll stop the train. I feel like we're stopping every 3 teams. Crimson Tide of Alabama here at number 9. It's just 2 weeks ago they weren't even in the ranking, and now they're in the top 10 immediately.
Yeah, last week I was like, I didn't want to say anything too surefire saying like this team was going to be good because they had just gotten to the rankings, but now holy moly, they're at number 9 already.
Yeah.
already cracked the top 10. Well, this team is, in my opinion, really deserving. 8-0 in the SEC, just have played absolutely unbelievable. They are a 3-point shooting team. Oh my gosh, had 23. I know we said last week, 23 made threes against LSU, 23 in their 105-point blowout that they had 2 weeks ago. And then this week they only had one game against Mississippi State where they won 81-73. Guards senior John Petty and sophomore Jaden Shackelford has been a 1-2 punch team for this Alabama team. Petty Jr. leads the team with 14.1 points per game with 102 made threes this season. And I think he's just going to continue to keep making more and more because this Alabama shooting team is just unbelievable. And they also have a great presence within the paint with senior Herbert Jones, who's just been throwing it down. And I mean, he's also averaging 12.9 points, which is their 3rd best on the team. But this week they're going to be really tested as they go up against a Kentucky team that's kind of been still trying to figure themselves out. They're not really amazing this year, and we know that, but you never know with that John Capillari team. They'll find a way to win one of these games. And then you got a number 24 Oklahoma after their big win against Kansas. They get the top 25, and we'll see if Alabama will be able to have be able to go up or reach these feats as they've had a little bit of an easier schedule. But until then, I think Alabama is going to have to beat these teams if they want to continue to stay in the top 10.
All right, we will move. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, my bad. I should have stepped up, but I feel like the injury to Jordan Bruner is really because the way Alabama plays, it's a big 5-out, and Jordan Bruner being able to space the floor, really helped. So they can do the 5-out, they can run all their actions. I think with him being hurt for a little bit, I think they're going to fall a bit, and people will forget how good this team has been over the course of the season.
Yeah, we made fun of the SEC a lot because this year has not been pretty. They have put their name on the map. The SEC is now a conference. You got to sit there and say, "Ooh, okay, maybe this is worth watching now." So watch out for the SEC. They'll be there. All right, keep moving in here. We got number 10 and number 11, Texas Tech, West Virginia. This is the unfortunate situation of having broadcast Tuesdays and podcast on Tuesdays, but such is life. This game happened last night, and the Deuce West Virginia, a huge win off of a buzzer beater last night by, oh my God, Miles McBride. Thank you. And just a fantastic win for them. They were at number 11. Texas Tech is at number 10. You will see some shifting, though, in the upcoming rankings. And, would you look at that? We're stopping again. Number 12, Mizzou, baby. We ripped on them a lot. I did specifically, and I have to, first of all, issue an apology because I was wrong. Missouri is actually a very quality team, and they've shown why. And you take a look at Missouri, the big tester was Tennessee, which we'll talk about. But that was the big tester. You got to prove, okay, we got to be the kings of the SEC. They're not the kings because Alabama exists. But Xavier Pinson, period. This kid's been dominating on the floor for Missouri. He's averaging 14 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, shooting 41% from the field. For a guard in the SEC in a highly defensive conference, you got to take that and run with it. You look at the past just couple of games, and he has just been a huge factor for this ball club. And you got to give Missouri credit where it's due. They've been playing really well. This is the interesting part of this whole conversation for Missouri, though. They've been on and off. They've had really good stretches of games, and then they've fallen off a cliff at a couple of times, like a really bad loss to Mississippi State on January 5th. They lost by 15 to a team that's really not that good. The good news is they do not get the bad side of the Big 12 in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. They only got to play TCU. Watch, they'll lose that game now because I said that. But, Missouri's going to be there. They don't have a lot of losable games coming up. The SEC is a 3-headed monster, but the 2 heads of Alabama and Missouri clearly up front right now.
I mean, I think the Missouri team, yes, like you said, they're a little bit shaky at times, but I think at this point they've proven that they do deserve to be at least somewhere in the top 25. The way that they've been playing is just they're like every time you think you want to write them off and like, oh, they're not going to win, that's when they just hit you, and that's when they win. That game against Oregon, when nobody thought, oh, they're going to be able to win, they go out and they spank them 83-75. Then they go out and nobody believes that they'll be able to keep anywhere close against Illinois. They go out and spank them. They did lose one game against Tennessee, but they came back and responded. Oh my gosh, this week. Knocked off number 6 Tennessee, which I kind of thanked them because I didn't think Tennessee deserved to be that high in the first place. So Tennessee falling all the way down doesn't really write them off just yet, but I think this Missouri team is on the rise, and they're on the rise at the right time. So we'll see how much higher this team could go. But at the moment, with these 2 unranked, with an easier schedule, like you said, I think they're going to be sitting put for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to disagree on the Missouri point. I mean, they're 32nd in KenPom. That's not really great. They're 58th in adjusted offensive efficiency. For a top 10 team, that's really bad. And defensively, they've actually been really good. But KenPom has them 22nd. I mean, that's pretty solid. I think they're better than that personally. But they're 9th in luck. I mean, they're one of the luckiest teams in the country. And against Illinois, while they really won that game, they struggled to defend Io, which, I mean, everyone does. Io put up 32, and a perfect way to make myself look stupid the first time I'm here. They play Auburn tonight. They got to go up against Sharif Cooper. Give me Auburn in that spot. I'm going to look like an idiot. Give me Auburn. I got Auburn.
Hey, hopefully this is out before the game so it looks real. But you never know. I mean, the thing is, the SEC has just been unpredictable all season long. I think we can all sit here and agree with that. I mean, they're everywhere. The SEC has never been consistent. I think we may finally have it, though, with Alabama and Missouri. We'll see, though. You never know. All right. We'll move it forward. Big Ten cluster. Ohio State has really picked up the pieces from a rough start to the season. Bad upset loss to Purdue. However, a huge win over Wisconsin. So they're starting to get things going. We'll see. Then Wisconsin, who has been in the other direction the past few weeks and can't seem to hold the lead to save their life. And Wisconsin has now dipped to 14 with 4 losses. Kansas. None of us chose to cover Kansas because, quite frankly, A, I don't care. But B, the Jayhawks are terrible. With 5 losses, they have no place being at 15. They're on a terrible losing streak right now. They have not looked good. This team is really young. It's really, really young. A lot of their guys, Devon Dotson, Udoka Azubuike, both graduated, moved on to the NBA. They need a little bit to find themselves, and I don't know if that's going to happen this season. And then we'll stop here again with the Seminoles of Florida State at number 16. Man, they should have been in here a long time ago, but they finally get in, Ethan.
Yeah, they were right sitting on the horizon for a long time, as the ACC has just literally been, I think, just as much as a roller coaster as at least the SEC, but I think a little bit more just because they add more teams into the mix, because we've seen Clemson go all the way up to at least 12, and then now they're not even getting votes. We've seen Louisville skyrocket all the way up, and then we've seen them jump all the way down. It's just getting out of control. But I think for Florida State, they've been kind of sitting under the horizon, and they finally broke through after beating a Louisville team that wasn't ranked last week, but is now ranked. And then they absolutely spanked Clemson 80-61. I mean, MJ Walker on this Florida State team has looked spectacular, 14.5 points per game. He's the clear leader on this Florida State team and putting up big points every single night. But they also got some guys with like Scotty Barnes on their team, putting up 10.6 points per game. So this Florida State team, they're looking a little bit better. Now, I won't say they're looking great just yet, just because of how the ACC has looked so far this season, and they were a little higher up, and then they just hit rock bottom, and then now they're trying to bring themselves back up from there. But for now, I think with the easy schedule with Miami and Georgia Tech coming up, I think this Florida State team will be in the top 25 for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I got to agree there. They've struggled offensively at times for sure, but the way they defend is just so hard to prepare for. They have so much length at every position. They can switch everything, and you have to beat them one-on-one. It's really hard to prepare for, and I just think the way they play is going to be really hard for teams to consistently beat. So I think they'll stay within this range, and if they can find ways to consistently score, I think they can rise up the ranks even.
Yeah, you look at Florida State, their schedule doesn't really get hard for a while until early mid-February. Their next ranked opponent, or scheduled ranked opponent, because I don't think they're going to stay there, is Virginia Tech, who sits at 11-3. They're the 20 right now, and we'll cover that in a second. But Florida State does not have a hard schedule. The other team to watch, because this is the final ACC team we'll cover, a team on the rise in the ACC is Georgia Tech. Watch out for them. They've been playing well. We move on. We got here number 17. We talked about it briefly. Creighton is off to a just ice-cold stretch right now. The Big 12 is the Big 12. Wow. The Big East is killing them. Good win over UConn, but UConn fell off quickly. You can't lose a game like that to Providence, and like we talked about last week, that Butler loss is about as bad as it gets. Those are two games you need to win, and you lose them both, and that's why they're down all the way here at 17. And this will be our final pit stop. 18, Tennessee. We've been already alluding to it. How about a 12-spot drop? Michael, explain.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I got a take on this team. I mean, the team is young. When you look at their top scorers, aside from John Fulkerson, who's leading the team, the next few scorers, Victor Bailey just got there. Aiden Springer's a freshman. Santiago Vescovi, he came mid-season last year. He's like from out of the country. Keon Johnson, also a freshman, and Deshaia Jordan-James, a sophomore. This core of this team is really young. So I don't think you can give up on them this quickly. With young teams, you're going to get better through over the season, and this team can really defend. If you have to play a half-court game against them, you're not hitting 60. Yi Pons can just defend every single position. 1 through 5, he can stop everybody. I think you have to be more patient with this team just because they're so young. Rick Barnes has proven that he can coach these guys up, and he will, and I think this team's going to be a real player in the SEC.
Ethan, I want to hear what you have to say, because we and you have had some good conversations. Do you think Tennessee deserves some credit, or do you think that the train is over?
I think they still deserve credit just because of how at least the lead that they've held within the ACC. I didn't really believe they should have been number 6 ranked in the country for that long. I just think they were getting lucky, and the teams that they're playing at the right time, kind of like how Missouri was just as high as they were. But I think now that they were going up against ranked opponents, and I mean, especially this upcoming week where it's going to be a little bit harder because you got the Mississippi State, then you got the SEC Big 12 mashup against Kansas, who I think Kansas is a little bit more experienced than this Tennessee team. So I'm a little bit worried for Tennessee headed into that game. And if they do lose one more time, they're not going to be going anywhere higher up, no matter what, even if they win Mississippi State. So I think they're going to be struggling here in this next, at least in this next week. And then they'll be able to try and, I think, build themselves up as they have the easier side of the SEC schedule coming up for the rest of the season, because they do not play another ranked opponent after Kansas. So I think this Tennessee team, yes, it's young. Yes, they're still trying to build just like our Butler team. But I think that Tennessee should be able to bounce back once we get past this week, because I really don't think they could beat Kansas. So there's my bold take, but we'll have to see what Tennessee has in store for us coming up.
I'm going to say this. If Kansas keeps playing the way they're playing, they're getting their butts kicked on Saturday. All right. Well, we've reached this point. We have no other teams left that we're going to cover, but we are going to reach them in at the end. We're going to blaze through this, though. Illinois sits at 19. They got a good week going, but they've looked rough over the past month or so. They're hoping to bounce back, but the schedule does not favor Illinois. We've talked about how good the Big Ten is. Michigan State game got postponed, but their next game is against Iowa on Friday. Virginia Tech, we briefly discussed them. I don't know what to think of Virginia Tech ever. Literally ever. It's impossible to get a read on Virginia Tech. Minnesota Golden Gophers are at 21. This is another team that I literally have no idea what to say. 1 week, they'll kick the crap out of Michigan, and then the next they'll get blown out by Maryland. What? Okay.
What?
St. Louis. I was afraid they were going to drop them out. Congratulations for not falling into that AP. Not only did they not drop them out of the top 25, they moved them up 3. And
We respect that.
They get their first game in a month tonight. Yep. Finally get a game. We'll see how they play. UCLA, I really don't want to talk about this. UCLA loses and moves up. No comment. Oklahoma, good, huge week. They get a win over Kansas, and they skyrocket into these rankings for the Big 12. But this is where the worst is. Louisville gets whacked by Florida State, and now they're in the top 25. Okay.
Makes no sense.
None. And now
that was the toughest test he's ever had. So I mean,
that. This is a disaster down there. I don't get it.
But they beat Duke. They beat Duke.
Okay. Boise State has won 13 in a row. They are a team that deserves to be in. Drake hasn't lost. They need to be in. Winthrop hasn't lost. They should be in.
Watch. You got our Drake watch.
Clemson sucks. Oregon sucks. UConn sucks. Those are the 3 that dropped out. They all had tough losses this week. But Louisville being in, and I'll let everybody finish as well. Louisville being in is just terrible. Awful.
It's the ACC. They just want Louisville has a upcoming schedule where I believe they're going to be playing some ranked opponents in. Actually, no, they have a Clemson and Georgia Tech. I think the AP poll didn't want to get rid of all their ACC teams, so they kept them in for as long as they could because they didn't want to. They don't think Boise State or Drake can be in there just yet. But we'll see. I think give it one more week if one of these teams or one of these bottom dweller teams end up losing again. Boise State or Drake could be in the top 25 for next week.
Quick final question to Michael, real quick.
Oh, you go.
Yeah, final question for you. If Drake is still unbeaten by the end of this week, do you think they're in?
I was just about to say that. I think if they can sweep Missouri State, a Missouri State team that has 1 loss. I mean, Isaiah Mosley on that team, he's a baller. But they got 1 loss. These guys, they can play. So if Drake sweeps them, Drake will be in the rankings. If not, it's a crime against humanity.
I would agree. Again, we've seen craziness week in and week out the past few weeks. So many ranked teams are going down. Speaking of, we've just talked about Oklahoma. I would like to mention they play Texas tonight. So Big 12, we're already going to get a good idea of where this is going. That screams Texas blowout. It's one of those games. We'll see, though. All right. It's been a great episode. Michael, thank you very much for joining us. It's been very nice having your insight. Ethan, as always, it's a pleasure. And we will wrap up week 10 of our AP Top 25 College Basketball Rankings just over a month away. Cannot wait for March Madness. And until then, we'll be here just talking about sports. Have a good one, everybody.